He spent Christmas Eve with his mistress. By Christmas morning, his wife had sold their $2.4 million mansion, emptied his secret accounts, and left divorce papers on his pillow. This isn't a story about heartbreak. It's about strategy, revenge, and a woman who turned betrayal into power. If you love stories of justice, power, and women who refuse to stay broken, hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more true-to-life revenge stories that will keep you up at night. Let's dive in. My husband spent Christmas Eve with his mistress. By Christmas morning, I had sold our $2.4 million house, emptied his secret accounts, and left divorce papers on his pillow. He thought I was naive. Turns out, I was just patient. But let me back up. 72 hours earlier, I was still playing the perfect wife. It was December 22nd, and I was vacuuming Marcus's BMW in our Westlake Hills driveway. He had asked me to clean it before his company Christmas party, and being 7 months pregnant with twin girls, I moved slowly, carefully. That is when I found it. Wedged under the passenger seat, a hotel key card, the Driscoll Hotel. Austin's most expensive historic property. The kind of place you take someone when you want to impress them. My hands froze on the vacuum handle. Marcus always stayed at Marriott for business. Always. He said the Marriott Rewards program was better. He said luxury hotels were wasteful. I slipped the key card into my pocket and kept vacuuming. Later that afternoon, while organizing his home office for tax season, I found the credit card statement he had left on his desk. My eyes caught one line item immediately: Tiffany and Company, $8,400, December 15th. I walked to my jewelry box, opened it, looked through every piece. Nothing new, nothing from Tiffany, nothing worth $8,000. My heart began to pound, but I kept my face calm. I photographed the statement with my phone, put everything back exactly as I had found it. That evening, Marcus's iPad dinged from the kitchen counter where it was charging. The screen lit up with a text preview. "Can't wait for tomorrow night, baby." Fire emoji. The sender was saved as just the letter A. My hands shook as I picked up the iPad. I knew his passcode, our wedding anniversary. He had never changed it. Probably never thought he needed to. I opened his messages. The thread with A went back months. My vision blurred as I scrolled, counting down the hours until Christmas Eve. "Wear the bracelet I got you. I told my parents we are spending Christmas together next year." I took screenshots of everything. My fingers moved on autopilot while my brain tried to process what I was seeing. Then I deleted the messages from his recently opened apps list and put the iPad back exactly where it had been. I walked to the nursery. 2 cribs already assembled, pink blankets folded neatly, stuffed animals lined up on the shelf. I placed my hand on my belly and felt both babies kick. I did not cry. Not yet. Instead, I called my best friend Sarah. Sarah Mitchell and I had gone to MIT together. We had been roommates, study partners, and each other's maids of honor. After graduation, I had become an architect. Sarah had gone to law school. Now she was the top divorce attorney in Austin with a 94% win rate. The phone rang twice. "Jess, what's wrong? You sound weird." "I need to see you tomorrow," I said quietly, "and I need you to come as my lawyer, not my friend." There was a pause, then Sarah's voice dropped an octave. "Oh shit, Marcus, can you clear your morning? I'll cancel everything, come at 8, and Jessica, don't confront him, not yet." "I won't." I hung up and walked back to the kitchen. Marcus was making dinner, humming along to Christmas music on the radio. He smiled when he saw me. "Hey baby, you feeling okay? You look pale." "Just tired," I lied. The twins were kicking all afternoon. He walked over and kissed my forehead. His cologne smelled expensive, new. He never wore cologne. "Go rest," he said. "I'll call you when dinner's ready." I went upstairs and sat on our bed, the bed we had shared for 6 years, the bed where he had held me when I miscarried our first pregnancy, the bed where we had made plans for our future. I looked at my wedding ring. White gold. Simple. Elegant. Marcus had proposed on this very bed, nervous and fumbling with the box. That man felt like a stranger now. I opened my phone and looked at the screenshots again. Then I did something that would change everything. I texted Frank Russo. Frank was a private investigator Sarah used for her high-profile cases. Former Austin Police Department detective. Cynical but thorough. I had met him once at Sarah's birthday party. Hi, Frank. This is Jessica Morgan, Sarah Mitchell's friend. I need to hire you. Can we talk tomorrow? His response came within 2 minutes. Sure thing. Give me Sarah's number. I'll coordinate with her. Don't worry, we'll figure this out. I set my phone down and finally let myself feel it. The betrayal, the shock, the rage that felt like fire in my chest. But underneath all of that was something else. Something colder. Something sharper. Calculation. Because I realized something in that moment. Marcus thought he was smart. He thought he was careful. He thought I was too pregnant, too trusting, too dependent to ever suspect him. He was wrong. I spent that night in the nursery, sitting in the rocking chair, planning. Not just my escape, his destruction. By dawn, I had a list. By noon the next day, I would have a team. Marcus came upstairs around 11. He looked confused to find the bed empty. Babe, you in here? I turned to face him from the nursery doorway. Couldn't sleep, just thinking about the girls. He smiled that smile I used to love. They're going to be so lucky to have you as a mom. I smiled back. We'll see. He went to bed, I stayed in the nursery, and I waited for morning. Sarah's law office occupied the entire 23rd floor of a downtown Austin high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lady Bird Lake. Expensive art on every wall. This was the office of someone who won. I arrived at exactly 8 in the morning, carrying a folder stuffed with printed screenshots, credit card statements, and bank records I had been quietly collecting for weeks. Because the truth was, Christmas Eve was not my first suspicion. It was just a confirmation. Sarah met me at reception herself. She took one look at my face and her professional mask slipped for just a moment. Her eyes filled with fury. Conference room. Now. We sat across from each other at a massive table. I slid the folder to her. Tell me everything, she said. I did. The hotel key card, the Tiffany receipt, the text messages, the cologne, the little things that had been adding up for months, how he came home late more and more often, how his phone was suddenly password protected, how he had started going to the gym at odd hours. Sarah went through every document methodically. When she finished, she looked up. Okay, so he's definitely cheating, but we need to be smart about this. Texas is a community property state. Everything acquired during marriage is split 50-50, including business growth. His company was started before we got married, I said, but it grew from 2 million to 50 million during your marriage. You're entitled to half that growth. We're talking $24 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. I had given up my architecture career to support his business, to be the wife who hosted dinners and smiled at investors and never complained when he worked 70-hour weeks. $24 million. That was the price of my sacrifice. He'll fight me, I said. Of course he will. Men like Marcus always do. That's why we move first, move fast, and move smart. Sarah pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Here's what we're going to do. Phase 1, secure your position. The house is yours. Inherited property, your name only on the deed. You can sell it without his consent. Sell the house? Unless you want to live in a home where he betrayed you for however many months this has been going on. She had a point. I'll connect you with Patricia Martinez, best luxury realtor in Austin. She can move properties in 48 hours if needed. Phase 2, gather evidence. I'm bringing in Frank Russo to document the affair. Texas is one-party consent. You can legally record Marcus without telling him. My stomach twisted. Isn't that sneaky? Sarah leaned forward. Jessica, he's the one cheating. He's the one lying. You're just protecting yourself and your babies. There's nothing sneaky about self-defense. Phase 3, she continued. Follow the money. I'm bringing in my forensic accountant, David Sullivan. If Marcus is hiding assets, and trust me, cheating husbands always hide assets, David will find them. Phase 4, strike when he's vulnerable. Don't tell him anything until Christmas. Let him think he's safe. Let him get sloppy. What if I'm overreacting? I asked quietly. What if there's an explanation? Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Jess, you're not overreacting. You're protecting yourself and your babies. I've seen this story 100 times. The wife who waits, who gives him the benefit of the doubt, she loses everything. The wife who acts fast, she survives. I thought about my daughters, about the life I wanted them to have, about the lessons I wanted to teach them. Then let's act fast. Sarah made 3 phone calls. The first was to Patricia Martinez. Patricia, it's Sarah Mitchell. I need a favor. Client of mine has a $2.4 million property in Westlake Hills. Inherited, sole ownership, needs to sell within 72 hours. Can you handle it? I could hear Patricia's excited voice through the phone. For you, absolutely. Send me the details. The second call was to Frank Russo. Frank, I've got a surveillance job. High priority. Need full documentation of an affair by Christmas morning. The third call was to David Sullivan. David, I need a deep dive on Morgan Properties LLC. Every account, every transfer, every shell company. Can you start today? By 9:30, I had a team. At 10, Frank Russo walked into Sarah's office. He was in his mid-50s, gray hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Morgan, he said, shaking my hand. Sarah says you need eyes on your husband. He's spending tomorrow night at the Driscoll Hotel, Christmas Eve, room 1204. I need photos, videos, everything. Frank pulled out a notepad. You sure you want to see this? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I thought about my daughters again. I need to know. For them. So when they ask me why their father isn't in their lives, I can tell them the truth. Frank nodded slowly. All right, I'll have everything by Christmas morning. At 11, Patricia Martinez arrived. She was exactly what I expected from Austin's top luxury realtor. Designer suit, perfect hair, the kind of confidence that closed deals. 2.4 million, Westlake Hills inherited property, she said, pulling up listings on her tablet. I've got 3 buyers already interested. Chinese investor, tech CEO from California, and retired surgeon from Houston. All cash, no contingencies. Who can close fastest? I asked. The surgeon. He's looking for investment property. Won't even inspect. He offered 2.6 million. Can close in 72 hours. 2.6 million. 200,000 more than asking. Done, I said. At noon, David Sullivan called in via video conference. He was in his 50s with a Boston accent and the methodical energy of someone who lived for spreadsheets. Mrs. Morgan, I've done a preliminary look at Morgan Properties LLC. I need access to your husband's computer to go deeper. Can you get me that? I have his passwords, I said. To everything, he uses the same one. Our wedding date. Everyone in the room stared at me. Since when? Sarah asked. Since always. He never changed it, never thought he needed to. David laughed, a sharp bark of sound. Then we've got him. Give me 24 hours. If he's hiding money, I'll find it. By 1 in the afternoon, I had a plan. By 2, I had a team executing it. By 3, I was back home playing the perfect wife, while my husband had no idea his entire world was about to collapse. That evening, Marcus came home early, surprising me. Thought I'd spend the evening with my best girl, he said, kissing my cheek, before the craziness of Christmas. We made dinner together. We watched a Christmas movie. He rubbed my feet while I pretended everything was normal. And the whole time I was thinking about tomorrow night, about what Frank would photograph, about what came next. Marcus fell asleep on the couch during the movie, his hand resting on my belly. I looked at him and felt nothing. No love, no anger, just cold, clear purpose. I gently moved his hand and went upstairs. In his office, I plugged in an external hard drive and began copying files. Every email, every document, every financial record. It took 47 minutes. He never woke up. I also found something else in his desk drawer, a document labeled prenup draft dated December 15th. I opened it, prepared for Marcus Morgan and Amber Sinclair. Terms: Jessica receives $500,000 lump sum. No spousal support. Limited custody of twins every other weekend. Marcus retains 100% of Morgan Properties LLC. My hands shook as I photographed every page. He had been planning this for weeks, months maybe, while I decorated the nursery. while I felt our daughters kick. While I believed in our future, I finished copying his files, put everything back exactly as it was, and went to bed. Marcus came up an hour later, sliding into bed beside me. "Love you, babe," he mumbled, already half asleep. I stared at the ceiling and said nothing. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. Tomorrow, Frank would document his betrayal. And tomorrow night, while Marcus was with his mistress, I would begin dismantling his life piece by piece. Because he wanted a war, he was about to get one. And I was going to win. Christmas Eve morning arrived with freezing rain that turned Austin's streets into mirrors of gray light. Marcus was unusually cheerful at breakfast, humming carols while making French toast. "Big day," he said, sliding a plate in front of me. "Wrapping up the River Oaks project by end of year. This deal could set us up for life." Us. The word felt like a lie in his mouth. "I thought you had everything finalized already," I said carefully. "We did, but the developer is getting cold feet. Wants to renegotiate terms. I need to fly down to Houston tonight, smooth things over in person." Houston. Not the Driscoll Hotel, not room 1204. Houston. On Christmas Eve? I made my voice soft, disappointed. "I know, baby, I'm sorry. But if I don't close this deal, we lose $3 million. I'll be back first thing Christmas morning. We'll do presents then, okay?" He kissed my forehead. His cologne was particularly strong today. That expensive new scent, the one he wore for her. "Of course," I said. "Business comes first." He smiled, relieved. "You're the best. This is why I married you." After breakfast, he showered and packed an overnight bag. I watched from the bedroom doorway as he carefully selected clothes. Not his usual business casual, his best suit, the Tom Ford one he saved for special occasions. "Fancy outfit for a business meeting," I observed. "Developer's old school, likes formality." He did not meet my eyes while he said it. At 6 p.m., he loaded his bag into his car. "Kiss me goodbye." His lips barely touched my cheek. "Love you," he said. "See you tomorrow morning." I watched him drive away, waited 10 minutes. Then I called Frank. "He just left, said he's going to Houston." "He's heading downtown," Frank replied, "toward the Driscoll, right on schedule." At 8:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a photo. Marcus entering the Driscoll lobby wearing his best suit, carrying his overnight bag and a Tiffany blue gift bag. At 9:15, another photo. A blonde woman in a stunning red dress entering the lobby. She was young, mid-20s, beautiful in that effortless way that made my pregnant self feel impossibly frumpy. Amber Sinclair, his marketing director, the woman he had been texting for months. At 9:23, a video. Marcus and Amber in the elevator. His hand on the small of her back, then sliding lower. Her laughing, leaning into him. Him kissing her neck while her eyes closed in pleasure. I watched the video 3 times. My face stayed completely blank. I was sitting in the nursery in the rocking chair I had picked out so carefully. Pink walls, soft lighting, the cribs where my daughters would sleep. This room that was supposed to represent our future. At 10:30, another photo, taken with a telephoto lens from the building across the street. The penthouse suite window, 2 silhouettes, Marcus and Amber, champagne bottle visible, her red dress on the floor. Frank's text came through. "You want me to keep going?" I typed back, "No, I've seen enough." But 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. "Frank, you need to see this. I'm sorry." The final video arrived at 11:58 p.m. Marcus and Amber on the penthouse balcony, the Austin skyline glittering behind them, and Marcus on one knee holding open a ring box. Amber's hands flew to her mouth. She was screaming yes, jumping into his arms, kissing him while he spun her around. My husband, proposing to another woman, on Christmas Eve, while I sat home 7 months pregnant with his twins. I set my phone down very carefully, stood up, walked to the bathroom, and vomited. When I finished, I looked at myself in the mirror. Pale face, dark circles under my eyes, belly swollen with his children, hair unwashed because bending over the bathtub exhausted me, and suddenly I was not sad anymore. I was furious. I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah, "Execute phase 2. I want him destroyed." Her response came immediately. On it. Patricia's listing the house tomorrow at 9 a.m. David's finalizing his report. We strike on the 28th. I texted Patricia. List the house today, 2.4 million. Cash buyers only. 48-hour close. Can you do it? Patricia. Consider it done. Then I did something I had been planning all day. I went to Marcus's home office. I sat at his computer, logged in with his password, and I found everything. Emails to Amber going back 6 months. I told my wife we're separated. She's agreed to divorce after the babies are born. I promise we'll be together. Spreadsheets showing transfers to offshore accounts, Cayman Islands, $890,000 in cryptocurrency, 1.2 million in an account under his brother's name. Documents for 3 rental properties in Dallas, registered to a Shell LLC I had never heard of. And the prenup. The full version, notes in the margins in Marcus's handwriting. Keep her settlement under $750,000. Structure custody so she gets weekends only. Protect company assets at all costs. I copied everything, every file, every email, every bank statement, loaded it all onto an external hard drive. Then I planted a voice-activated recorder under his desk, another in his car, underneath the driver's seat, installed tracking software on his laptop that would run invisibly in the background. By 4 a.m., I was done. I had every piece of evidence I needed. I sat on the floor of his office, surrounded by the proof of his betrayal, and finally let myself cry. Not quiet tears, full-body sobs that shook my pregnant frame. But I only gave myself 10 minutes. Then I dried my eyes, went to our bedroom, and started packing, not my clothes, his. Every suit, every shirt, every pair of shoes, every watch, into garbage bags. By dawn, I had packed his entire existence into black plastic bags stacked in the garage. At 7 a.m., my phone rang. Sarah. David has his report. Jessica, it's worse than we thought. He's committed serious fraud. Like federal prison fraud. We need to talk. My office in an hour? I'll be there. I took a shower, put on my best maternity dress, did my makeup carefully, because today was the day that everything changed. Today, I stopped being Marcus Morgan's wife. Today, I became his worst nightmare. I drove to Sarah's office through the gray Christmas morning light. The streets were empty. Everyone was home with their families, opening presents, making memories. Marcus was probably waking up next to Amber right now, probably having breakfast in bed, probably planning his future, their future. He had no idea that future was already over. I parked and went up to Sarah's office. The conference room was full. Sarah, David Sullivan, Patricia Martinez, Frank Russo, my team. Okay, Sarah said, let's finish this. David Sullivan was already pulling up spreadsheets when I walked into the conference room. His Boston accent got thicker when he was excited, and right now he sounded like he was straight off the streets of Southie. Mrs. Morgan, your husband is a goddamn criminal. Tell me, I said, sitting down heavily. The twins were pressing on my lungs today. Everything hurt. David turned his laptop around. Morgan Properties has been inflating property values for at least 3 years. He gets a property appraised by a guy he knows, inflates the value by 30 to 40%, then takes out loans against the fake equity. He's done this at least 12 times. How much money are we talking about? 23 million in fraudulent loans, maybe more. He's also got 890,000 in cryptocurrency wallets, 1.2 million in a Cayman Islands account under his brother's name, and 3 rental properties in Dallas registered to a Shell LLC. Sarah leaned forward. That's wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and securities fraud. We're talking federal crimes, serious prison time. Can we prove it? I asked. David grinned. With the files you gave me? Absolutely. He documented everything, kept meticulous records, probably thought nobody would ever look. What do we do with this? Sarah and David exchanged glances. We could go to the FBI now, Sarah said slowly, but I think we hold it. Use it as leverage during divorce proceedings. If he fights dirty, we drop this bomb. He cooperates, we stay quiet. Is that legal? It's not illegal. We're not obligated to report suspected crimes. And honestly, the FBI probably knows already. These things don't stay hidden forever. Patricia Martinez cleared her throat. Speaking of hidden things, I've got news. The surgeon signed this morning, 2.6 million, all cash. Closes December 28th at 4 p.m. My heart stuttered. That's in 3 days. That's the idea. Strike while he thinks he's safe. Sarah pulled out a thick folder. Here's what happens next. Today's Christmas. He's with Amber, probably still asleep. Tomorrow, you're at my place for dinner. Safe, protected. December 27th, you move your personal items to storage. 28th at 4 p.m., the house closes. Money wires to your new account at Wells Fargo, the one Marcus doesn't know about. At 5:30 p.m., you place divorce papers on his pillow along with all the evidence Frank collected. By the time he gets home, you're gone. Where will I stay? I've already arranged an apartment for you, luxury high-rise downtown, fully furnished, first 6 months paid. You'll be safe there. Frank Russo spoke up for the first time. I'll also be installing security cameras in your new place, and I'm giving you my direct number. Any problems, you call me immediately. I looked around the table at these people who barely knew me but were risking their reputations to help me. Why are you all doing this? Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand. Because you're my best friend, and because we all know what it's like to watch someone we love get destroyed by a person they trusted. Patricia nodded. My ex-husband cheated on me for 2 years. I found out when his girlfriend showed up at our daughter's birthday party thinking we were divorced. I had nothing, no lawyer, no plan, lost everything. So when Sarah calls asking me to help another woman not make my mistakes, I say yes. David shifted in his seat. My sister went through something similar. She waited too long, tried to fix it, gave him the benefit of the doubt. He drained their accounts and disappeared to Costa Rica. I haven't seen her smile in 5 years. So yeah, I'm invested in making sure that doesn't happen to you. Frank just shrugged. I've been a cop for 25 years before going private. Seen too many women end up with nothing because they were too nice, too trusting, too slow to act. Not on my watch. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you, all of you. Don't thank us yet, Sarah said. This is going to get ugly. Marcus will fight back hard. Are you ready for that? I thought about the video of him proposing to Amber, about the prenup draft, about the 6 months of lies. I'm ready. Good. Now let's talk strategy. We spent the next 4 hours going over every detail. What I would say if Marcus came home early, how to document every conversation going forward, what to do if he tried to access the bank accounts, how to handle his inevitable rage. By 2 p.m., I had a battle plan. By 3, I was back home playing the perfect wife. Marcus arrived at 4:30, carrying presents and wearing his guilty conscience like cologne. Merry Christmas, baby. He was too enthusiastic, overcompensating. God, I missed you. How was Houston? I kept my voice light. Exhausting. Developer was being impossible, but we worked it out. The lies came so easily to him. What was his name again? Whose name? The developer. What was his name? Marcus paused just for a second. Johnson, Robert Johnson. I turned back to the cookies I was pretending to bake. You okay? You seem off. Just tired. Twins were kicking all night. Go rest. I'll make dinner. We'll do Christmas tonight instead. I went upstairs but did not rest. Instead, I opened my laptop and watched the security footage Frank had sent me. Marcus entering the Driscoll, Amber in her red dress, the elevator kiss, the proposal. I watched it until I felt nothing, until the man in the video was a stranger. Around 8 p.m., Marcus called up the stairs. Dinner's ready? We ate Christmas dinner at our dining room table, turkey and all the fixings. He had even lit candles. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a funeral. So, Marcus said, pouring himself wine. Sarah texted me, invited us to her place tomorrow for Christmas dinner. You want to go? She invited me. She knows you'd rather catch up on work. I mean, I do have some emails to handle, but it's fine. Go ahead. I'll go see Sarah. Relief flooded his face. You sure? Absolutely. Because I needed him out of the house tomorrow. I needed time to search his office one more time, to install the final surveillance equipment, to prepare for the end game. After dinner, Marcus went to his office to catch up on emails. I heard him on the phone, voice low, probably talking to Amber. I went to the nursery and sat in the rocking chair, placed my hands on my belly, and felt my daughter's kick. "I'm going to protect you," I whispered. "From him, from all of this. You'll never know what he did to us. You'll only know that your mother loved you enough to burn down the world to keep you safe." That night, while Marcus slept, I went through his office one final time and found the smoking gun I needed. An email to his business partner dated December 20th. "Everything's in place. Jessica will be served in early January, right after the twins are born. Prenup is airtight. She'll get her settlement in limited custody. Amber and I can start our life together. The company stays protected. It's all working out perfectly." I took a photo of the email, added it to my evidence folder. Then I did something I had been planning all week. I logged into our joint bank account and set up automatic transfers. Starting December 29th, every morning at midnight, $100 would transfer from our joint account to my new secret Wells Fargo account. Small enough he would not notice immediately, large enough to build up fast. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. Because the war was almost over, I just needed to survive 3 more days. 3 more days of pretending, 3 more days of lies. And then Marcus Morgan would discover what happened when you underestimated a pregnant woman with nothing left to lose. December 26th dawned cold and bright. Marcus was cheerful at breakfast again. Too cheerful, the way guilty people overcompensate. "Sleep well?" he asked, making coffee. "Fine, you?" "Great. Hey, I was thinking, maybe we should take a baby moon before the twins come. Somewhere warm. Mexico, maybe." A baby moon with his pregnant wife, while planning to divorce her and marry his mistress. The audacity was almost impressive. "That sounds nice," I lied. "We can talk about it after New Year's." There would be no baby moon, no New Year's together. In 48 hours, Marcus would come home to an empty house and divorce papers. But he did not know that yet. After breakfast, I drove to Sarah's house, as planned. Her husband Tom answered the door, ushering me inside with a sympathetic smile. "Sarah's in her office. Go on up." Sarah's home office was smaller than her downtown suite, but just as impressive. She had divorce papers spread across her desk, each section marked with colored tabs. "These are ready to file," she said. "I just need your signature." I sat down and started reading. The petition for dissolution of marriage, the custody arrangement, the division of assets. "This says I'm asking for full physical and legal custody," I noted. "You are. He can petition for visitation after he serves whatever prison time he's looking at for the fraud. What if he fights for custody before the FBI gets involved? Then we show the judge the evidence, the affair, the lies, the financial fraud. No judge will give primary custody to a man who's potentially facing federal charges." Sarah leaned back in her chair. "But honestly, Jess, I don't think it'll come to that. Once he sees what we have, he'll fold. Men like Marcus care about their reputations more than their kids." The words stung because they were true. I signed every page. My signature looked surprisingly steady. "What happens tomorrow?" I asked. "Tomorrow you go home early. You have movers coming at noon. They'll pack your personal items, things for the twins, anything with sentimental value. Everything goes to a storage unit I've rented under my name. The movers think you're just doing a declutter. They don't know about the divorce." "What do I tell Marcus?" "Nothing. He'll be at work. By the time he gets home tomorrow evening, the personal items will be gone, but the furniture will still be there. He'll notice something's off, but he won't know what. It'll make him anxious. Anxious people make mistakes." And the 28th, "The house closes at 4 p.m. Patricia will handle everything. The money wires to your account by 5. You go to the house one last time. You place the divorce papers on his pillow along with the evidence packet. Photos from Frank, copies of his fraudulent financial documents, the prenup with Amber's name, everything. Then you walk out and never look back." My hands were shaking. "I'm terrified." "Good. Fear means you understand how serious this is. But Jessica, listen to me. You're not doing anything wrong. He's the one who cheated. He's the one who committed fraud. You're just protecting yourself and your babies." That afternoon, I went back home. Marcus was in his office on a video call. I could hear him through the door, voice confident and smooth, lying to clients the way he lied to me. I spent the rest of the day in the nursery, organizing baby clothes, washing tiny socks, folding blankets. Normal tasks that felt surreal. Tomorrow, I would pack these clothes. Tomorrow, I would start dismantling this life. Tonight, I would pretend one last time. Marcus made dinner again. Pasta carbonara, my favorite. We ate in front of the TV, watching some Christmas movie neither of us paid attention to. "You've been quiet lately," he said during a commercial. "Everything okay?" "Just tired. Pregnancy stuff." "You'd tell me if something was wrong, right?" The irony of that question almost made me laugh. "Of course, Onwa," I said. He fell asleep on the couch after the movie. I covered him with a blanket and went upstairs. While he slept, I packed a go bag. Clothes for a week, toiletries, important documents, my laptop, the external hard drive with all his files. I hid it in the trunk of my car under the spare tire where he would never look. December 27th arrived with freezing rain. Marcus left for work at 8, kissing my forehead on his way out. "Love you," he said, like he did every morning. I did not say it back. At noon, the movers arrived, 3 guys with a truck. They thought they were doing a simple declutter job. "Just the nursery items in the boxes I've marked," I told them. "Everything else stays." They loaded up the cribs, still in boxes because we had not assembled them yet. The changing table, the rocking chair, all the baby clothes and blankets, my grandmother's jewelry, photo albums, my laptop, and work files from my old architecture career. By 3 p.m., everything was in storage. The house looked the same but felt empty. Marcus came home at 6:30. He walked through the house slowly, frowning. "Did you move stuff around?" he asked. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Something feels different. Maybe you're just tired." He shook it off, but I could see the confusion in his eyes, the slight paranoia. Good. Let him wonder. That night, I could not sleep. Tomorrow was the day. Tomorrow, everything ended. I lay in bed next to Marcus, listening to him breathe, and felt nothing. No love, no hate, just emptiness where 6 years of marriage used to be. At 2 a.m., I got up and went to his office one last time. I needed to write the letter, the one that would be waiting for him tomorrow night. I sat at his desk, opened my laptop, and started typing. "Marcus, by the time you read this, several things have happened." The words came easily. Months of hurt and anger poured onto the page. When I finished, it was 4 a.m. I printed the letter, folded it carefully, and put it in an envelope. Tomorrow, this letter would destroy him. Tomorrow, he would finally understand what he had done. Tomorrow, I would be free. December 28th, the day Marcus Morgan's perfect life exploded. I woke at 6 a.m., Marcus still sleeping beside me. For the last time I looked at his face in the early morning light. He looked peaceful, innocent, like a man who had not spent the last 6 months building an elaborate web of lies. I got up quietly, showered, dressed in my best maternity dress. Today needed to look normal until it suddenly was not. Marcus left for work at 8:30. "Big day," he said. "Final paperwork on the River Oaks project. I'll probably be late." "That's fine, I have some errands to run anyway." He kissed my forehead. "Love you." I watched him drive away and felt nothing. At 9 a.m., Patricia Martinez texted, "Surgeon confirmed, closing at 4 p.m. You ready for this?" Me, more than ready. At 11 a.m., I drove to Wells Fargo and opened my new account. The banker, a kind woman in her 50s, chatted pleasantly about the holidays while processing my paperwork. "And this account is just in your name?" she confirmed. "Just mine." "Perfect. You'll have full access as soon as the transfer completes this afternoon." At noon, Sarah called. "How are you holding up?" "I'm numb. Is that normal?" "Completely normal. You're in survival mode. The emotions come later after you're safe." At 2 p.m., I drove to the house one last time as its owner. I walked through each room slowly. The kitchen where Marcus had proposed. The living room where we had spent countless Sunday mornings. The bedroom where we had made love and made plans. The nursery, now empty, where our daughters were supposed to grow up. I took no photos. I wanted no memories of this place. At 3:45, Patricia called. We're starting the signing. Everything looks good. At 4:17 p.m., my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Wells Fargo. Deposit received. $2,600,000. I sat in my car and stared at that number. More money than I had ever had. Money that represented 6 years of marriage, my grandmother's house, and the price of my freedom. At 4:30, I drove back to the house. I had an hour before Marcus usually came home. I placed the envelope on his pillow. Inside was the letter I had written at 2 a.m., along with printed screenshots of his text messages with Amber, photos from Frank showing the proposal, and a copy of the prenup draft with Amber's name highlighted in yellow. I also left my wedding ring. Then I walked through the house one final time. I turned on the security cameras, the ones Marcus did not know I could access remotely. I wanted to see his face when he found everything. At 5:30, I walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove away. I did not look back. By 6 p.m., I was in my new apartment, 32nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Austin and Lady Bird Lake, fully furnished in clean, modern style, nothing like the house I had just left. This place had no memories, no ghosts, no lies. Sarah arrived at 6:30 with takeout and non-alcoholic champagne. "You did it," she said, setting up the food on my new kitchen counter. "You actually did it. I don't feel like I did anything. I feel like I'm watching someone else's life." "That's shock. It'll wear off." Sarah pulled out her laptop. "Now comes the hard part. We wait for him to find everything." At 6:45, my phone showed Marcus pulling into the driveway. The security cameras I had left active sent footage to my phone in real time. Sarah and I watched together on my laptop screen. Marcus got out of his car, briefcase in hand. He walked to the front door, tried his key. It did not work. Confusion crossed his face. He tried again. Nothing. He walked to the window and cupped his hands against the glass. The furniture was still there, but something was off. The personal touches were gone. The photos, the decorative items, the lived-in feeling. He pulled out his phone, called me. I declined the call. He tried again. Again, I declined. He called Sarah. She sent him to voicemail. His confusion was shifting to panic now. He walked around the house, trying each window, each door, all locked. New locks I had installed yesterday morning while he was at work. Finally, he called his lawyer. Through the security camera audio, we heard his side of the conversation. "Richard, something's wrong. Jessica changed the locks. She's not answering her phone. I need you to—" "What do you mean you can't help me? Why not?" A pause while Richard spoke. "Separate property? What the hell are you talking about? That's our house." Another pause. "Inherited? But we've lived there for 6 years. That doesn't—" His face went white. "She sold it? When? How is that even—" He hung up, stood very still in the driveway. Then he got back in his car and drove away. Sarah and I tracked him through the GPS device Frank had planted in his car. He drove straight to his office. 20 minutes later, he was calling his business partner, his brother, his parents, each conversation growing more desperate. At 8 p.m., he finally went back to the house. This time he broke a window to get in. The security cameras showed him walking through the empty rooms, looking for evidence of where I had gone, what I had taken. Then he went upstairs to the bedroom. We watched as he found the envelope on his pillow. He opened it slowly, started reading the letter. His face went through so many expressions: confusion, disbelief, anger, fear. When he got to the photos of him and Amber, he actually staggered backward. When he saw the prenup draft with Amber's name, he put his head in his hands. Then he saw my wedding ring lying on the pillow. He picked it up, turned it over in his hands. And for just a moment, he looked like a man who finally understood what he had lost, but only for a moment. Then rage replaced everything else. He called me again. This time I answered, put it on speaker so Sarah could hear. "Jessica, what the fuck have you done?" "Hello, Marcus. You sold our house? Without telling me?" "My house, and yes. You can't just— Where are you? We need to talk about this." "We don't need to talk about anything. My lawyer will contact you Monday. Everything else you need to know is in that envelope." "The photos are fake. Amber and I—" Don't. I watched you propose to her, Marcus. Christmas Eve, while I was home pregnant with your daughters. Silence. I was going to tell you, he finally said. After the babies came, I was going to do this the right way. The right way? You were planning to serve me divorce papers a week after giving birth. You drafted a prenup, cutting me out of everything I helped you build. You hid millions of dollars and committed fraud. None of that is the right way. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Save it. You're going to cooperate with the divorce. You're going to accept whatever custody arrangement the court decides. And you're going to pray that I don't send all of David Sullivan's financial findings to the FBI. Another silence. You wouldn't. Try me. I hung up. Sarah was grinning. That was perfect. You were cold as ice. I don't feel cold. I feel hot, like I'm burning up from the inside. That's adrenaline and anger, both healthy reactions. She squeezed my shoulder. You did good, Jess. Really good. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. We need to talk in person. Tomorrow, please. And I showed it to Sarah. Do you want to see him? I thought about it, about 6 years of marriage, about the man I had loved and the stranger he had become. No, let the lawyers handle it. Good answer. That night after Sarah left, I stood at my new floor-to-ceiling windows and looked out at Austin. The city lights sparkled. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably with Amber, trying to explain why his pregnant wife had just upended his life. Let them panic. Let them scramble. I placed my hand on my belly and felt both babies kick. We're safe now, I whispered. He can't hurt us anymore. But even as I said it, I knew the war was not over yet. It had only just begun. January 2nd arrived with brittle cold and Marcus's counterattack. I was in my apartment, 8 months pregnant, setting up the nursery in the second bedroom when Sarah called. He filed an emergency motion, she said without preamble. Claims you're mentally unstable and sold marital property illegally. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? He can file anything. Doesn't mean he'll win. We have a hearing tomorrow, Judge Helen Crawford. She's tough, but fair. We just need to stay calm and present our evidence. What if he convinces her I'm unstable? With what proof? You documented everything methodically. You had a team of professionals helping you. That's not instability. That's strategic planning. Trust me, we've got this. But my hands were shaking when I hung up. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. My doorbell rang. I checked the security camera Frank had installed. Amber Sinclair stood in the hallway, mascara running, looking utterly destroyed. Against my better judgment, I opened the door with the chain lock still on. What do you want? Please, Amber said, her voice breaking. I need to talk to you. It's important. I have nothing to say to you. Then just listen. Please, 5 minutes. Something in her voice made me hesitate. I opened the door. Amber came inside slowly, like she was afraid I might attack her. She probably was not wrong to be afraid. I didn't know, she started. About the pregnancy, about any of it. He told me you two were separated, that you were filing for divorce but waiting for tax reasons. He showed me paperwork. Fake paperwork. I know that now. Jessica, I'm not here to make excuses. What I did was terrible, even if his story had been true. I just wanted you to know that I'm not going to testify against you. He asked me to, threatened me, but I won't do it. Why are you telling me this? Amber's hand moved unconsciously to her stomach. Because I'm pregnant too. The world tilted. You're what? 9 weeks. And when I told Marcus, he told me to get rid of it. Said if I didn't, he'd destroy my career, tell everyone I seduced him, that I'm crazy. I felt like I was watching this conversation from very far away. So you're keeping it? I don't know. I don't have money. He threatened to fire me. I'm terrified. Part of me wanted to feel sympathy, but a larger part just felt rage. You helped destroy my marriage, I heard myself say. You slept with my husband while I was pregnant. You wore jewelry he bought with our money, and now you want my sympathy? No, I want you to know what you're up against. He's not going to stop. He'll lie, cheat, destroy anyone in his path to avoid losing. Including you. Including me. We stood there in my doorway, two women pregnant by the same man, both realizing too late what he really was. "What do you want from me?" I asked him finally. "Nothing. I just thought you should know about the baby, about his threats, about what he's planning." "Which is?" "He's going to claim you coerced me into lying, that you paid me to recant my story about the affair. He's creating fake bank records showing a $50,000 transfer from you to me." My blood ran cold. "He can't do that." "He already did. His lawyer's filing them tomorrow at your hearing." After Amber left, I called Sarah immediately. "He's creating fake evidence, claiming I paid Amber $50,000 to lie about the affair." "Son of a bitch! Okay, don't panic. We can fight this. I'm calling David Sullivan. If those records are fake, he'll prove it." But the next morning at the emergency hearing, everything went wrong. Judge Helen Crawford was in her 60s with steel gray hair and no patience for games. Marcus sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer Richard Stone, both of them in expensive suits. I sat with Sarah, feeling enormous and exhausted in my maternity dress. Marcus spoke first, playing the concerned husband perfectly. "Your Honor, I'm worried about my wife. She's not acting like herself. The pregnancy seems to have made her paranoid. She's making wild accusations, selling property without consultation. I just want to make sure our daughters are safe." Sarah cross-examined him ruthlessly. "Mr. Morgan, where were you Christmas Eve?" "Houston, business meeting." "Can you provide documentation?" "It was informal, dinner meeting." "Restaurant name?" "I don't remember exactly." Sarah pulled out the photos. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibits A through F, photographs documenting Mr. Morgan at the Driscoll Hotel in Austin, not Houston, with his employee Amber Sinclair, including photos of them kissing and Mr. Morgan proposing marriage." The courtroom went silent. Marcus's lawyer tried to recover. "Your Honor, my client's personal life is irrelevant to custody." "It's relevant when he's lying under oath," Sarah said coldly. Judge Crawford leaned forward. "Mr. Morgan, did you lie to this court about your location on December 24th? Marcus looked trapped. Your Honor, I can't explain. Yes or no?" "Yes." "Motion for emergency custody denied. Will reconvene for preliminary custody hearing January 15th. Dismissed." Outside in the courthouse, Sarah was triumphant. "We crushed him." But I could not shake the feeling that Marcus was not done yet. I was right. That night, three things happened in quick succession. First, I checked my bank account and found it frozen. Every penny of the $2.6 million inaccessible. Second, my OBGYN called. My insurance had been canceled. Marcus had removed me from his company policy. Third, a process server arrived with a lawsuit. Morgan Properties LLC versus Jessica Morgan. Defamation. $5 million in damages. I called Sarah, barely breathing. "He's trying to destroy me financially. All my money's frozen. I have no insurance. I'm 8 months pregnant and I have $47 to my name." That bastard convinced another judge to freeze the assets. And the insurance cancellation is legal, unfortunately. Spouses can remove each other during separation. Sarah's voice was tight with fury. "The defamation suit is a slap suit, designed to intimidate you into settling. We'll fight all of it. But Jessica, this is going to get worse before it gets better." That night, alone in my apartment, I broke down completely. I sat on the floor of my empty nursery and sobbed. Huge, gasping sobs that shook my pregnant body. The twins kicked frantically, like they could feel my distress. "I'm sorry," I whispered to them. "Mommy tried. I thought I was strong enough." I looked at my phone. Marcus had called 17 times, each voicemail more desperate. The last one said, "Jessica, please. We can work this out. Drop the divorce. Sign a postnup. You'll get $750,000 in joint custody. That's fair. That's more than fair. Just stop this before you end up with nothing." $750,000, joint custody, everything I had fought against. For the first time since Christmas Eve, I considered giving up. And then my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mrs. Morgan, this is Special Agent Karen Wallace, FBI Financial Crimes Unit. I apologize for the late hour, but we need to meet." It's urgent. I sat up. What? Why? It's about your husband. Can you meet me at 7 a.m. tomorrow? Starbucks on West 6th? What's this about? It's better if we talk in person. But Mrs. Morgan, whatever you do, don't contact Marcus before we speak. She hung up. I sat in the darkness, my heart pounding, twins kicking, mind racing. The FBI. They knew about Marcus's fraud, and they wanted my help. Maybe this war was not over after all. I did not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcus's face when he found the divorce papers, heard his voice on those desperate voicemails, felt the weight of the financial trap he had built around me. At 6:30 a.m., I forced myself to shower and dress, my best maternity outfit, professional, calm, not a woman who had spent half the night crying on her bathroom floor. The Starbucks on West 6th was nearly empty this early. I spotted Special Agent Karen Wallace immediately. Mid-40s, sharp suit, the kind of eyes that missed nothing. She stood when I approached. Mrs. Morgan, thank you for meeting me. We sat in a corner booth away from the morning coffee rush. I'm going to be direct, Agent Wallace said. We've been investigating your husband for 18 months. Wire fraud, money laundering, securities fraud. Morgan Properties has been inflating property values, securing loans based on false appraisals, and moving money offshore for at least 3 years. My coffee cup shook in my hands. How much money? We estimate 23 million in fraudulent transactions, possibly more. Why are you telling me this? Because we need your testimony. We need someone who can testify about his business practices, his computer access, his patterns, someone he trusted. I'm his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife. Won't that make me biased? It makes you credible. You have nothing to gain from lying. In fact, his conviction would complicate your divorce. But we also need something else. She slid a small black device across the table. We need you to wear a wire. Get him to confess. On tape. I stared at the device. You want me to trick him? We want you to have a conversation with him. He's been calling you, right? Wanting to meet? Say yes. Wear the wire. We'll have agents nearby. You'll be completely safe. What if he figures it out? He won't. This technology is virtually undetectable. And Jessica, I need you to understand something. If we take Marcus down, all his assets get seized, including the 2.6 million that's currently frozen. We can work with the court to release those funds to you, plus he goes to prison, which means you get full custody by default. The room felt too hot suddenly. How long in prison? With what we have? 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years. My daughters would be teenagers before they met their father. Why should I help you? I asked. What's in it for me besides the money? Agent Wallace leaned forward. Because men like Marcus don't stop. He'll fight you for custody just to punish you. He'll drain every penny you have in legal fees. He'll make your life hell for years. But if he's in federal prison, it's over. You can raise your daughters in peace. Isn't that worth 1 hour of your time? I thought about Emma and Grace, still safely inside me, about the life I wanted them to have, about the lessons I wanted to teach them about standing up to bullies. When? Today, this afternoon. Call him. Tell him you're willing to talk. Suggest a neutral location. We'll wire you up and position agents nearby. I pulled out my phone and looked at Marcus's 17 missed calls. Okay, I said, let's do it. By noon, I was in the back of an FBI van, being fitted with the most sophisticated wire I had never imagined existed, thin as a hair, invisible under my maternity dress. Remember, Agent Wallace coached me, get him talking about the properties, the appraisals, the offshore accounts. We need him to admit it in his own words. What if he doesn't? Then guide the conversation. You know how he thinks. Use that. At 1 p.m., I texted Marcus, I'm willing to talk, just us. Coffee shop on Lamar, 2 p.m. His response was immediate. Thank God. I'll be there. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. The coffee shop was busy enough to seem normal, but quiet enough to record clearly. I arrived early and chose a table by the window. FBI agents were scattered throughout the shop, looking like normal customers. Marcus arrived at exactly 2 p.m. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted. like he had not slept in days. Jessica, he sat down across from me. You look good. Let's skip the pleasantries. You wanted to talk. Talk. I want to fix this. Us, the marriage, everything. There's nothing to fix. You cheated on me. You lied to me. You planned to divorce me and cut me out of everything I helped you build. I know I was an idiot, but Jessica, I was under so much pressure. The business, the investors, keeping everything afloat. I made terrible decisions. Like proposing to Amber. He flinched. That was a mistake. I was caught up in the fantasy of starting over. But she's not you. She could never be you. How touching. Tell me about the offshore accounts. His face went carefully blank. What accounts? The Cayman Islands account, 1.2 million. The crypto wallets, 890,000. The fake property appraisals you've been using to secure fraudulent loans. Who told you that? That's not... Is it true? Long silence. Jessica, the real estate business is complicated. Sometimes you have to be creative with valuations to make deals work. Creative? You mean fraudulent? It's not fraud if everyone benefits. The banks get their interest, the investors get their returns. We get to grow the company. Nobody loses. Except the people you lied to. I didn't lie. I was optimistic about property values. There's a difference. Tell me about the 23 million. He went very still. How do you know about that? Answer the question, Marcus. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? Is it true? He leaned forward, dropping his voice. Listen to me. If any of this comes out, it destroys everything I'm making. Not just me. You too. We built this company together. Your name is on documents. You could be implicated. Are you threatening me? I'm trying to protect you. If you push this, if you go to authorities, we both go down. I'll take that risk. Jessica, think about our daughters. What kind of life will they have if both parents are in prison? What kind of life will they have growing up with a father who's a criminal? His mask slipped then. The charm fell away, and I saw real rage underneath. You think you're so smart. You think you've won by selling the house, by running to lawyers, by collecting your little folder of evidence. But you have no idea what I'm capable of. I will bury you. I will take those babies the second they're born. You'll never see them again. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I stood up, placing my hands on the table. Good. Because Special Agent Wallace of the FBI just heard every word. FBI agents materialized from every corner of the coffee shop. Marcus's face went from angry to confused to terrified in 3 seconds. Agent Wallace approached our table. Marcus Morgan, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, securities fraud, and intimidation of a federal witness. What? No. Jessica, what did you do? Jessica! I walked out without looking back. Outside, the January cold hit my face like a slap. I stood on the sidewalk, shaking, while Agent Wallace joined me. You did great. That recording is exactly what we needed. What happens now? Now he gets processed, arraigned, probably denied bail given flight risk. His lawyers will try to get a deal, but with this evidence, he's going away for a long time. And my money? We'll file a motion to unfreeze the assets tomorrow. Should be resolved within a week. I nodded numbly. Mrs. Morgan, you okay? I just sent my daughter's father to prison. You just protected your daughters from a man who was willing to destroy anyone in his path. There's a difference. That night, Sarah came over with dinner and found me sitting in the dark. You did it, she said, flipping on lights. Agent Wallace called me. They're moving forward with prosecution. Marcus is in federal custody. I don't feel victorious. You feel exhausted. You've been in survival mode for weeks. Now that the immediate threat is over, your body is catching up. What if I made the wrong choice? You didn't. You chose your safety and your daughter's safety. That's never the wrong choice. She stayed until I fell asleep on the couch, too tired to make it to bed. And for the first time in weeks, I slept without nightmares. 6 weeks passed in a blur of court appearances, lawyer meetings, and finally prenatal appointments I could afford again. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, Marcus Morgan stood in federal court and pled guilty to 11 counts of fraud. I sat in the courtroom gallery, 9 months pregnant, and watched him accept his fate. Judge Thomas Morrison was not gentle. Mr. Morgan, you systematically defrauded investors, lenders, and the federal government for personal gain. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You threatened your pregnant wife to protect your crimes. Sentencing is as follows: 12 years in federal prison, $18.7 million in restitution to defrauded parties, forfeiture of all assets, including properties and accounts acquired through fraudulent means. 12 years. My daughters would be in middle school before their father was released. Marcus's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has a family. He should have thought of that before committing federal crimes. Sentence stands. Security led Marcus away. As they did, he turned and looked directly at me. I expected rage. Instead, I saw something worse. Defeat, empty recognition that he had destroyed everything. I looked away first. In family court that same afternoon, Judge Helen Crawford handled custody. Mrs. Morgan is awarded full legal and physical custody of the minor children. Mr. Morgan's parental rights are suspended pending completion of his prison sentence. He may petition for supervised visitation upon release. Full custody. My daughters would be mine alone. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt nothing. 2 weeks later, on March 3rd, I went into labor. Sarah drove me to the hospital at 2 a.m., coaching me through contractions while simultaneously texting my birth plan to the delivery team. You're doing great. Just breathe. I can't do this, Sarah. I can't. Yes, you can. You've done harder things. You walked through fire. This is just the door to the other side. 8 hours later, Emma Rose Morgan arrived at 6 pounds 2 ounces, screaming her outrage at the world. 12 minutes after that, Grace Ann Morgan followed at 5 pounds 9 ounces, quiet and observing. The nurse placed both babies on my chest, and I finally broke down completely. They're perfect, I sobbed. They're so perfect. Sarah stood beside the bed, tears running down her own face. Yeah, they are. And they'll never know a man who lies. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Sarah brought me everything I needed. Frank Russo installed security cameras in my apartment. Patricia Martinez sent a massive flower arrangement. David Sullivan sent a college fund contribution for both girls. My team. My people. On the day I came home with Emma and Grace, I stood in my apartment holding my daughters and looked out at Austin. Somewhere in this buried city, Marcus was in a cell. Somewhere, Amber was pregnant and scared. Somewhere, the life I thought I would have was still echoing like a ghost. But here, in this moment, I had everything that mattered. Welcome home, babies, I whispered. We made it. 3 months later, I registered Second Chances as a nonprofit. Legal aid and financial support for women escaping abusive marriages. Sarah volunteered as lead counsel. Frank offered discounted investigation services. Patricia helped women sell properties quickly when they needed to escape. We helped 12 women in our first year, 30 in our second. And every time I handed a woman her first check, every time I watched someone walk out of a courtroom with full custody, I thought about Christmas Eve, about finding that hotel key card, about making the choice to fight instead of accept, about becoming the woman my daughters needed me to be. On Emma and Grace's first birthday, I threw a party at my apartment. Sarah's family, Frank Russo, who had become an honorary uncle, Patricia, David. The doorbell rang just as we were cutting the cake. I opened it to find Amber Sinclair holding a 6-month-old baby girl. I'm sorry to just show up, Amber said nervously. I wanted to say thank you, and I'm sorry for everything. I looked at her baby, dark hair, Marcus's eyes. What's her name? Lily. She's beautiful. Amber's eyes filled with tears. I kept her, despite everything. Because of you, actually. You showed me what it looks like to choose yourself and your kids over everything else. I thought about turning her away, about slamming the door on the woman who had helped destroy my marriage. But then I thought about Emma and Grace, about Lily, about 3 little girls who would grow up as half-sisters, whether the adults liked it or not. Come in, I said. Let the girls meet their sister. That evening, after everyone left, I stood on my balcony with a glass of wine and watched the sunset over Austin. My phone buzzed with an email. The prison had forwarded a letter from Marcus. I deleted it without reading. Sarah found me outside. You okay? Yeah, I am. What are you thinking about? About how Marcus spent Christmas Eve planning his perfect future with Amber, and I spent it building mine. His lasted 3 weeks. Mine is still here. You won. No, my daughters won. They have a mother who taught them you don't stay with men who betray you. That money isn't worth your dignity. That sometimes burning it all down is the only way to start over. And what do you tell them when they're old enough to ask about their father? The truth that he was smart and charming and dangerous. That he taught me what love isn't. That sometimes the greatest gift someone gives you is showing you exactly who they are. Sarah raised her glass to showing people who we are, to survival, to more than survival, to actually living. We clinked glasses as the Austin lights began to twinkle below us. Inside, Emma and Grace were sleeping peacefully in their cribs, safe, loved, free from the chaos of their father's choices. And I realized something this was not revenge. Revenge would have been empty. This was justice. This was peace. This was the life I had fought for and earned. Marcus spent Christmas Eve with his mistress, planning to destroy me. I spent it building an escape route. He thought he was untouchable. I proved him wrong. And in the end, the only thing that mattered was that my daughters would grow up knowing their mother never stopped fighting for them. Them never stopped protecting them. Never stopped choosing them over everything else. That was the only victory worth having. 3 years later, on a warm April morning, I stood in my kitchen making breakfast while Emma and Grace argued over who got the pink plate. We can both have pink plates, I said, pulling out 2 matching ones. See, problem solved. But I wanted that pink plate, Emma insisted with all the drama a 3-year-old could muster. They're literally identical. Grace, always the logical one, had already moved on and was trying to climb onto her chair. This was my life now, negotiating toddler disputes, wiping yogurt off walls, finding lost sippy cups, the mundane, exhausting, beautiful chaos of single motherhood. The doorbell rang. I checked the security camera, a habit that would probably never leave me. Sarah stood in the hallway holding coffee and pastries. Thank God, I said, letting her in. I need backup. They've been arguing since 6 a.m. Auntie Sarah. Both girls ran to her, argument forgotten. Sarah scooped them up, one in each arm. Have you two been terrorizing your mother? She won't let me have the pink plate, Emma reported. She has a pink plate. She just wants mine, Grace countered. How about we all have different colored plates? Emma gets pink, Grace gets purple, and your mom gets blue. Everyone wins. The girls considered this diplomatic solution and accepted it. You're a miracle worker, I said as Sarah set them down. I'm a lawyer. Negotiation is literally my job. We settled the girls with breakfast and moved to the living room with our coffee. Big day, Sarah said. You ready? Today was the opening of Second Chance's first physical office. After 3 years of running the nonprofit from my apartment, we finally had enough funding for a real space. I'm terrified. What if nobody comes? Jess, we've helped over 100 women in 3 years. They'll come. The office was in downtown Austin, small but professional. 2 consultation rooms, a reception area, a resource library. By 10 a.m., the ribbon-cutting ceremony was underway. Local press, city council members, and women. So many women who had used our services and wanted to give back. I gave a short speech about second chances and choosing yourself and fighting for your future. The usual message I had refined over 3 years of speaking engagements. But then something unexpected happened. A woman in her 50s approached me after the ceremony. Mrs. Morgan, I'm Detective Lisa Rodriguez, APD. I wanted to thank you. Thank me for what? 6 months ago, my sister discovered her husband was embezzling from his company and hiding money offshore. She found your nonprofit. Your team helped her document everything, secure her assets, and file for divorce before he could destroy her financially. She got full custody, and he's facing federal charges because of you. My throat tightened. I just connected her with resources. You did more than that. You showed her it was possible to fight back and win. That matters more than you know. After Detective Rodriguez left, Sarah found me wiping tears in the bathroom. Happy tears? She asked. Yeah, just overwhelmed. You've built something incredible here, Jess. You took your worst experience and turned it into help for hundreds of women. That's not just survival, that's transformation. That evening, after tucking Emma and Grace into bed, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine. My phone buzzed. An email from the federal prison system. Inmate Marcus Morgan has requested to add you to his approved contact list. Approve or deny? I stared at the email for a long moment. 3 years ago, I would have been tempted to respond, to tell him everything he had lost, to make sure he knew exactly what his choices had cost him. But now I felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, no curiosity about what he wanted to say. I clicked deny and deleted the email. Marcus Morgan was my past. Emma and Grace were my present. The women at Second Chances were my future. That was enough. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost declined, but something made me answer. Jessica Morgan? Yes? This is Amber. Amber Sinclair. I know it's been a while. I was wondering if maybe the girls could have a play date. Lily asks about her sisters sometimes. I thought about saying no, about keeping that door closed. But then I thought about Emma and Grace and Lily, 3 little girls who shared a father whether he deserved them or not. Sure, how about Saturday? The park on West 6th. Really, that's great. Thank you. Saturday arrived sunny and warm. I brought Emma and Grace to the park and found Amber already there with Lily, who was now 3.5 and looked disturbingly like Marcus. The girls were shy at first, but within 10 minutes they were playing together like they had known each other their whole lives. Amber and I sat on a bench watching them. How are you doing? I asked. Better. I'm working as a victim's advocate now, helping women in abusive relationships. It's meaningful work. That's good. I heard about Second Chances. What you're building. It's amazing. We just try to help. Long silence. I'm sorry, Amber said quietly. I know I've said it before, but I mean it. What I did was inexcusable. It was, but we can't change the past. We can only decide who we want to be going forward. Who do you want to be? I watched Emma push Grace on the swing while Lily waited her turn. Someone my daughters are proud of. Someone who turned pain into purpose. Someone who chose forgiveness not for him or for you, but for me. Because holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had better things to do with my energy. Amber wiped her eyes. You're a better person than I deserve. I'm just a person, doing my best, same as you. We stayed at the park for 2 hours. When we left, the girls made us promise to do it again. Next week? Amber asked hopefully. Next week, I agreed. That night, after the girls were asleep, I did something I had not done in 3 years. I took out my old wedding album. I looked at photos of Marcus and me on our wedding day. Young, happy, completely unaware of what was coming. And I felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude that I had discovered the truth. Gratitude that I had fought back. Gratitude that I had survived. I closed the album and put it back in storage. The next morning, I woke to Emma and Grace jumping on my bed. Mama, Mama, we want pancakes. Okay, pancakes coming up. I followed them to the kitchen, their giggles filling the apartment. This was my life now, not the one I had planned. Not the fairy tale ending, but it was mine. Built from ashes. Earned through pain. Absolutely real. And as I flipped pancakes while my daughters danced around the kitchen, I realized something. Marcus had spent Christmas Eve with his mistress, trying to build a new life. I had spent it planning my escape. He thought he was untouchable. I proved him wrong. He lost 12 years in federal prison. I gained the rest of my life. And every single day, I chose to live it. Not in anger, not in bitterness, not looking backward, but forward. Always forward. Toward my daughters. Toward my purpose. Toward the future I was creating one decision at a time. Marcus taught me what love is not. My daughters taught me what it is, and that made all the difference.